One of these is the Rendlesham forest case from 1980. At a U.S. Air Force base inside England, airmen on duty saw some bright lights flashing through the trees of Rendlesham Forest just outside the base perimeter. They went to investigate and found what they described as a craft of unknown origin landed inside the forest. They approached it, and one of the men studied and touched it for 45 minutes, logging the details in a notebook. But they were ordered never to discuss what happened, and so it's been called one of the great UFO cover-ups in history. Something that nearly always happens with stories like this that get told and retold on TV shows is that each network has to outdo the last one. And so the eyewitnesses' stories get magnified and expanded every time another network tells it. When we go back to the original documentation, the actual records from that night, they tell a very different story. Now, the men did indeed follow a flashing light through the trees, and suspecting that there might have been a crash of some kind in the forest, they called the local constables, who, being familiar with the area, found that the men were seeing nothing more than the flashing light of Orford Ness Lighthouse, about 6 miles away, and they did not investigate further. A colonel from the base accompanied the men with an audio recorder and recorded the following.
You saw a light where? Right in this position here, straight ahead, in between the tree. There it is again. Watch, straight ahead off my flash back there. So there it is. Hey, I see it too. What is it? We don't know, sir. So can I get some? Yeah, it's a strange, small red light.
Now, every lighthouse has its own unique interval for how often it flashes. That way mariners can identify which lighthouse they're seeing. The Orford Ness Lighthouse, which is sadly gone now, flashed at an interval of exactly 5 seconds. So let's hear that audio again, but with a beep added every 5 seconds.
You saw a light where? Right in this position here, straight ahead, in between the tree. There it is again. Watch, straight ahead off my flash back there. So there it is. Hey, I see it too. What is it?
What about the guy who said he examined the craft in the forest, writing down the details in his notebook? That didn't become a part of the story until 1996, 16 years after it happened. He'd given other interviews on TV shows as recently as 1994 and had never said anything about seeing a craft. And it wasn't until another TV show in 2003 that he first mentioned having a notebook. Back in 1980, when this happened, he had told the Air Force interviewer that they followed the flashing light but couldn't get very close to it. And that's all. Then every time a new TV show came out about this story, it got bigger and bigger, and more story elements were invented. Go back to the original accounts, and it's documented that nothing interesting happened at all. There's no evidence that any of the events added by the TV shows ever happened. So Rendlesham Forest does not satisfy our standard of evidence.